The proposition has an appealing economy. Take one unused retail unit, cover the walls in black fabric, spread grey dust across the vinyl, borrow a flag, and put the kettle somewhere safely out of frame. By morning, mankind has conquered the moon without leaving the retail park. There are, however, difficulties. Apollo 11's lunar module, Eagle, touched down in the Sea of Tranquility on the 20th of July, 1969. Spirit Halloween says it has operated since 1983. The proposed venue therefore arrived 14 years after the event it allegedly hosted. This is poor project management, even by seasonal retail standards. Chronology disposes of the name break room. But perhaps the phrase is being used loosely, an anonymous staff area behind a future shop, later inherited by plastic skeletons and a laminated microwave policy. Could the famous pictures have been made there? Begin with the camera. The first step television pictures did not come from a broadcast camera hidden behind an office chair. They came from a Westinghouse lunar television camera stowed on the outside of the lunar module. When Armstrong opened the equipment bay, the camera tilted into position and sent a narrowband, slow-scan image from the surface. That peculiar system matters. It produced 10 frames each second with 320 lines, then ground stations converted the signal for ordinary television. Goldstone in California, Honeysuckle Creek near Canberra, and Parkes in New South Wales all played roles in receiving the transmission before it reached Houston and broadcasters. The blurry, ghostly quality was not an attempt to conceal a cheap set. It was what happened when lunar television met the communications bandwidth of the late 1960s. Then there is the room itself. The lunar sky is black because there is no atmosphere to scatter sunlight. The stars are missing because the camera was exposed for a brilliantly lit surface and bright white suits. Faint stars could not register under those settings. A dark curtain can imitate blackness. It cannot reproduce the exposure behavior seen across the lunar photography. The shadows also appear severe, occasionally crossing at odd angles. On a flat sheet of paper, that looks suspicious. On uneven ground, with slopes, craters and perspective, parallel shadows can appear to converge or diverge. The illumination is consistent with a single distant source, the sun. A break room would require a remarkably ambitious ceiling fixture. The flag provides the room's strongest piece of decor. Its upper edge was held by a horizontal rod because a flag will not unfurl in a vacuum. The fabric moved when the astronauts handled the pole, then settled without any breeze. It looks unusual because almost every flag we see is being shaped by air. On the moon, the cloth kept the wrinkles it was given. Dust is less theatrical. Kicked regolith follows neat arcs and drops immediately. There are no drifting clouds because there is no air to suspend them. The boot prints hold their shape not because the floor was damp, but because sharp, unworn grains interlock under pressure. A caretaker would call it a serious cleaning issue. A geologist calls it lunar soil. Even this only addresses appearances. The larger problem for the break room explanation is that Apollo 11 left evidence which continued after the broadcast ended. Jodrell Bank in Britain tracked signals from Eagle while also monitoring the Soviet Lunar 15 spacecraft. Apollo rocks were returned to Earth and examined by scientists. A laser retroreflector placed by the crew still returns ranging measurements. Decades later, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter photographed the descent stage and the trails across the landing site. A retail staff room can support mugs, mild resentment, and one heroic refrigerator. It cannot place hardware in the Sea of Tranquility, create lunar samples, or cause an observatory in another country to track a spacecraft at the moon. So, was the moon landing filmed in a Spirit Halloween break room? No. Spirit Halloween did not yet exist. The television signal was built around lunar hardware and received through a global network. The scene obeys the optics and mechanics of a vacuum. And the material evidence remains on the moon and in laboratories on Earth. The resemblance is understandable. Both environments favor gray floors, harsh lighting, and the faint sense that something has gone wrong with the ceiling. But resemblance is not origin. The only seasonal pop-up involved was humanity itself, briefly open in the Sea of Tranquility, then gone by morning.